From the studios of the Brooklyn College radio station, this is Beyond the Box Score. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beyond the Box Score. It is a beautiful Monday, March 18th, 2024. I'm your host, Max, here with my incredible co-hosts, Sean and Oscar. How you guys doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing okay.
Doing all right?
Doing good, man. Doing good. We got a lot to get. Got a lot of news.
Did you guys have a nice St. Patty's Day?
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. I don't know. My favorite soccer team got clapped, which sucks, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That always kind of just ruins the day.
Yeah.
You know?
I drink a Guinness or two.
Yeah, that'll help. That'll help when your team loses, you know, man? All right, we're going to get right into it because we've been teasing Yankees and Mets preview last couple of episodes. So, why don't we start with the New York Yankees? So I'm going to do a little bit of a spring training recap for you guys because I've been paying pretty close attention. So obviously the two big storylines are Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge. So Garrett Cole, he suffered a nerve inflammation and edema last week. He's predicted to miss 10 to 12 weeks. He was having a difficult time recovering between starts, and last Monday went in for an MRI. It really freaks out any baseball fan when a pitcher goes in to get an MRI on their throwing arm, especially if it's Garrett Cole, arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball. And so, you know, Yankees fans like myself kind of feared the worst. So it was kind of I don't want to say it was a nice, you know, or it was a relief, I guess, to see that there was no tear and that he will not need Tommy John surgery. But Oscar, this is a huge blow.
Yeah, no, this is terrible for the Yankees season. I don't know, I'm just looking up, see if there's any updates from today. I mean, it's 3 to 4 weeks he's not going to throw, at least. And I don't know, usually when they're when a team is being really mysterious about, because I don't think anyone has said exactly what the injury is yet. I know it's something with the nerves in his elbow or something.
Yeah,
maybe
some nerve inflammation and edema.
Yeah, which I don't know. That can be pretty bad. And yeah, it's just he's gonna miss the beginning part of the season, and it's scary for Yankees fans because he's, other than Judge, he's the most important player on this team.
Yeah.
Without him, you know, you're in big trouble. I think they're in very big trouble because then you have to count on Rodon to bounce back because he was terrible last year.
Yeah.
And Stroman's a good pitcher. I like Stroman quite a bit. He's like a really good workhorse pitcher, but he's not, you know, of the quality of Garrett Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you've got Nestor. Nestor's good, but is he going to lead this rotation to, you know, is he going to lead the Yankees, you know, to the playoffs or to competing for the division against the Rays and the Orioles and the Blue Jays? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Before we talk more about the rotation, I should mention that Judge also has been missing some spring training games, not playing today either. He's got an ab injury, but Aaron Boone hasn't given us a clear, like a specific day on when he should return, but they've been pretty vocal about it not being anything too serious, and won't keep him out, you know, opening day or anything like that. They're just being on the precautious side, which you should be when you have, you know, Aaron Judge.
Absolutely, because with Aaron Judge and especially with Garrett Cole, nerve inflammation is one of those things that could always linger throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you could come back after a certain point, I feel like that's an injury they're going to have to keep nursing, keep an eye out for, similar to like a hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like there's no real perfect time to have an injury. It's just kind of a good time for that injury to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's still spring training, not even start the season. Yeah, he's going to miss some time to start the season, but better now than during the time for a playoff push.
Yeah.
Right. And then you were talking a little bit more about the Yankees rotation. Carlos Rodon is going to be probably moved to that one spot. I mean, 14 starts, had a 6.85 ERA. His season last year was talked about a lot. the Yankees fans are really hoping for him to kind of have a redemption season and go back to that pitcher that we knew he was with the White Sox and with the Giants. And then Marcus Stroman, who, 25 starts last year for the Cubs, 3.95 ERA. He's kind of been that reliable but not amazing pitcher. Nestor Cortez, he's been made the opening day starter. 12 starts, had a 4.97 ERA, kind of struggling with some injury issues. I know Yankees fans are kind of hoping he can go back to that nasty Nestor form that he was in 2022. Clark Schmidt going to be dropping down to that fourth spot in the rotation, 32 starts and a 4.64 ERA. And then number 5 in the rotation is kind of just a bunch of question marks right now with Cole gone. I mean, they have some guys that they like, and I trust Matt Blake, the pitching coach, and Aaron Boone to kind of figure out the bullpen situation and everything like that. But I mean, losing, obviously this guy, he just won the Cy Young. I predicted he was going to win the Cy Young again this year. Obviously, that's not going to happen, and I should probably stop just doing predictions just in general now, because I don't know what else to say.
It's like with us in Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Last fall, like every time you predict the team, they go out and lose.
Yeah.
So.
So they're gonna have to figure out their rotation a little bit.
The Yankees are in a really nasty spot because in order with how competitive the division and the American League as a whole is, you can't really afford to rest players like Cole and Judge a lot, but you have to because they're becoming really injury prone, and these are kind of becoming almost terminal injuries. They're lingering for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want, and also if you want to compete in October, once you make the playoffs, you need those two.
Yeah,
and without them, you're in so much trouble. Yeah,
and like Oscar said, even like with the division, how stacked it is that they're in, add on to that the expectations this team has, just based on the roster, and to fall short of those expectations due to injuries and not because of your own doing, whether you're good or bad, kind of does suck, because at that point you don't even know what the team is because you never even got the chance to see how they look out on the field.
Yeah. Let's get hopeful. Let's get optimistic a little bit. So I've been watching a lot of spring training, as I said. Anthony Rizzo and Anthony Volpe, they both had very promising spring training so far. Rizzo had the concussion injury that made him pretty much the worst player in baseball last season, and Volpe was a rookie, so we weren't, I think a lot of us were probably expecting a lot of strikeouts, which is what happened. So very promising spring training, start to the season for those guys. The predicted opening day lineup, let's just go through it real quick. We got DJ LeMahieu hitting off in the one spot, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, Gleyber Torres, Alex Verdugo, Giancarlo Stanton, either Jose Trevino or Austin Wells catching, and then Anthony Volpe in the ninth hole. And then I think this will probably, if they're healthy, this is probably what it's going to be, because they want to go righty-lefty. I know that's, acquiring Soto and Verdugo, that was a huge emphasis, getting some left-handed hitters, especially if you're, playing in Yankee Stadium where you have the short right porch, right? On the bench, Trent Grisham, a great center fielder. Jason Dominguez is going to come back in the summer. A lot of Yankees fans are hopeful about him, especially the way that he started out in the league last season. Not a lot of infield depth, and I think that is the main concern. If you're a Yankees fan, you look at this roster and it's a lot of talent on paper, but it's a lot of guys that have also proven that they can't stay healthy. With the Garrett Cole injury, there's also been a lot of talk if the Yankees should be in on Snell, Montgomery, even Trevor Bauer. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think, they're kind of screwed because they're I had it written down. They're over the third tax threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So they pay 110% more on whoever they sign. So, for example, you sign Snell for $30 million. That's kind of been the rumor that what he's wanted. This year they would have to pay him $60 to $66 million.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of in a rock and a hard place. Because of course you'd want to sign, someone who could come in and pitch right away. But I don't know if that's going to be easily available. Maybe Monty, he's played for the Yankees before.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the city. He's been pitching. He was pitching last year in MLB.
It's the price, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, it's because
Like these players, they all have an issue with them. That comes along. Snell has 2 Cy Youngs, but in the years between that, it's pretty mediocre.
he wants a really big. It's also the length of the contract
Right.
too. He wants a lot of years.
Right. Montgomery, the Yankees let him go pretty much, and then he turned into a pretty great pitcher in the World Series.
Yeah.
And then Trevor Bauer, that situation, everyone is pretty well aware about that.
Yeah. Not to mention, even if that wasn't a thing, he hasn't pitched in the MLB in years.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't sign him personally, but because not only kind of issues with, but because if you want someone to replicate Garrett Cole form.
You can't do that.
Yeah. Or come do the best impression that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're asking a guy who hasn't pitched a single pitch in Major League Baseball to come in. Also, they hate each other, those two, Garrett Cole and Trevor Bauer.
Yeah,
so I don't think that could work.
You also have to find, obviously no one's going to replace Garrett Cole. No one's going to replace how good he is. But you kind of have to find that pitcher. Maybe even, they'll switch pitchers time to time here and there, going on the game to game. But you have to find that pitcher that at least keeps the Yankees above water. Because as great as Judge, as great as Soto is, as good as Rizzo has been so far in spring training, without good pitching, I don't know what this team really, how high of a ceiling this team really has.
Yeah, they're going to have to win a lot of games just purely from slugging, And then with these guys, Snell, Montgomery, Bauer, you have to ask yourself, okay, yeah, the Yankees need pitching. A lot of teams need pitching. There's no such thing as enough pitching, or too much pitching.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to ask yourself, why are these guys still available?
Yeah.
And then, like you said earlier, Oscar, you got to look around. This year is incredibly important for the Yankees. You have Soto on what's being said is basically a rental. The Yankees will be in on him, but he's gonna ask for a big deal. And then there'll be the Mets. There'll be other teams that'll be in on him. So it's not a guarantee that you're gonna get him in free agency, even if they have a great season and he really likes it here. Garrett Cole has an opt-out. Gleyber Torres is a free agent next season. Rizzo's a free agent with a club option. Verdugo's a free agent. Loizaga's a free agent. So this, a lot of guys have contract years. A lot of guys may not return. This is big, and you know what? The American League is extremely deep. You have the the Astros always have your number in the postseason. The Rangers are going to be there. The Orioles are just going to keep getting better and better and are extremely young. And then just in your division, we talked about the divisions a lot already, but the Rays and the Blue Jays aren't going anywhere. Yeah. They're formidable. So it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of pressure on this team to win this year.
Exactly, especially when you go through those contracts of guys who aren't guaranteed to be around next year. You have to kind of look at this year as a win now situation, and for them to start off with all these injuries is not a good start. Even though you've had guys in spring training show up, are they going to be able to consistently do that throughout the regular season remains to be seen. So it's kind of a tricky situation. You still kind of have to go for it, obviously. Even with all the injuries piling up, you have kind of no choice, especially with the money that you're paying for these guys. So yeah, they're kind of in a tricky situation where the financial side of it says you have to go all for it, but all the injuries kind of say if this is not the year, then it's not meant to be.
It's I think a great way to describe the Yankees right now. It's a team with an extremely high ceiling, but then an extremely low floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think this whole situation is a really bad indictment on Brian Cashman. I think he's done a really horrible job constructing this team. According to SportTrack.com, just look it up, you guys have the highest payroll in all of the MLB. And I've looked at a few other sources too, and if they're not number one, they're easily top 5.
Yeah.
And we're talking, 2 players might be injured, you're done for the year. And that's really bad. I don't see how this team should be that expensive, when you look at all the deficiencies that they have.
I don't want to label myself as a Cashman defender because I'm not. I've criticized him a lot. But last year, a lot of Yankees fans were really quick to criticize him, to call for his job, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't so much on that bandwagon because or that train or whatever. I think, because of the injuries last year to Judge and to Rizzo, the way that Rodon underperformed, there really wasn't a lot that you can do. I know people don't like to hear injuries as an excuse, but I mean, what the hell do you want? What do you want Cashman to do? I mean, there's only so many injuries that you can kind of just be like, okay, next man up, next man up, next man up. As far as this year, I think Cashman has done a decent job at. I mean, look, you got Juan Soto, so like, what am I supposed to say? You put a roster out there that is capable of winning the World Series. Would you guys agree with that?
They have the talent to do it. So
I can't really. I just with these injuries, I can't see it. In the show, maybe, but you know what? Like on paper, sorry, on paper, yes, 100%. If everyone stays healthy, yeah, I think you guys, you guys could compete with, the Astros, the Orioles, the Rays. I don't think Texas is going to be that good this year, but whoever it may be, I think you guys could compete with anyone if you're healthy. But
there you go.
I just can't really see it. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, to all our Yankees fan listeners, but it's just tough. Like on paper, yes, but in practice, no. I can't really see it.
But isn't that what Cashman's job is?
Oh, yeah, no, look, I'm not necessarily saying that, I wasn't necessarily saying they should be fired or anything, but it's just, you look at some of the contracts, it's just, such a clear overpay, you know what I mean? But, I guess on the other hand, it's baseball, there's no salary cap, and if you got the money to spend it. But, but I just see a lot of overextending for a lot of these players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because say for example, I don't think they can. The Yankees have money, big market, all that stuff. Tons of commercial deals and things like that. It's such a powerful brand. But God forbid, what happens if because of some of these contracts, maybe ownership doesn't feel comfortable forking out all the money that a player like Juan Soto would want. And then, where does it leave you, I
mean, he's going to probably want around $50 million a year. And I think, the Yankees, they have Steinbrenner money, so they're going to be there. They're going to be in the market for Soto. But is it enough to be – and, he's got Scott Boras as his agent, so is it going to be enough to compete with the Mets? We'll have to see.
Yeah. Is that a transition?
I mean –
that was a pretty good, clean transition.
Yeah, that's clean transition. Yeah, let's get into the Mets. This messy situation.
Yeah. So, quick little note on. I'm not quite sure how. If I'm being completely honest, I haven't been paying too much attention to their spring training, but it should be noted that Kodai Senga will miss opening day with a shoulder strain. He's going to start throwing in about a week from now, so that's good. He has become, after last year, it's obvious he's their clear ace. 12-7 record with a 2.98 ERA and 202 strikeouts last season. The rest of the rotation is not horrible, in theory. You got Luis Severino, a 6.65 ERA. I think a lot of that is because of injury issues. Look, I'm a Severino fan. I have been for a while. I think if this guy's healthy, he could, and returns to form, he could be an extremely formidable pitcher. And be a perfect number 2 for that Mets rotation. Sean Manaea, 4.44 ERA. Jose Quintana, their opening day starter, 3.57 ERA, and Adrian Hauser to round out the rotation of 4.12 ERA. Look, not bad. It's kind of top heavy, but I definitely see there are definitely worse rotations in the NL.
I mean, if this was 2019, 2018, Manaea and Severino, and this would be would go crazy. But.
A little bit. I mean, and then we're looking at the predicted opening day lineup. We got Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, Starling Marte, Francisco Alvarez, who they're hoping for a big season, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, and Harrison Bader. Just those names, I think. It's a great defensive team, not a bad lineup, but then you have to look at the division that they're in. They're going to be competing with the Braves and Phillies, and it's tough.
And because
it's tough, man.
Right, those two teams right there. That makes that division immediately top heavy, and you're kind of just hoping for third at best if you're the Mets, because at this point. you can't tank with this team. But so you just kind of have to hope for you just kind of have to grind it out, hope for just to get as many wins as possible because this roster honestly isn't good enough. Other than Alonso and maybe Alvarez, they're good, but other than that, this team just has a lot of holes or a lot of just question marks of what these players can be.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Mets are never going to be held to the same standard as the Yankees. I'm somewhat biased when I say that.
No, that's true. Even after last season.
Yeah, I mean, even though you have an owner now who's gonna spend millions and he's not afraid to do that, it's never going to be World Series or bust for the Mets, especially under this ownership. So I feel like they're comfortable taking the season to kind of feel out what this roster is, see how guys like Alvarez and Beatty kind of develop. And then next season, I think that's when they'll be big spenders. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that seems like kind of their only option. I mean, yeah, just from kind of the interviews that management has been giving, they're kind of saying a lot of things, the right words, in terms of, hey, we want to win and stuff. But I can't really, you can't seriously expect to win a World Series with this roster. But you said it's some contracts you needed to shed. Losing Senga for a little bit is going to be a pain. He was really, really good last year. Got some Cy Young votes, too.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, yeah. And I don't know. You never know what you could get out of Severino and Manaea. They might turn the years back a little bit. They might be able to get some solid play. Like you said, it's not a bad defensive team either. They don't give up a ton of runs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is going to be. I'm really interested. Come in a few months. Let's see if they're buyers or sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah, because it's going to be interesting what they decide to do with Alonso. I mean, this is.
I was waiting. Yeah, I was kind of waiting to talk. Should we talk about that now?
Go for it.
Yeah, this. I mean, yeah. Well, actually, the last thing I'll say is I'm interested because if they scrape together some wins and they're fighting for that wild card and come trade deadline, I think Uncle Steve might try and be aggressive in the market and try and sign some guys, but I could also see them being sellers at that point. We'll see. But my biggest question mark about this team is Pete Alonso. Or not really him as a player, but his contract. I don't really understand what they're doing. It makes no sense at all. If I'm not mistaken, no. I think he's a free agent next summer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't understand what they're doing. At this point, when there's 1 year left on a player's contract, you need to know, am I going to pay this guy what he wants or am I going to trade him?
Mm-hmm.
And, dude, if you're not going to pay him, trade him. You should have traded him this offseason if you weren't going to pay him. And in my opinion, you should pay him. He's been their most consistent player since he got into the league.
Mm-hmm.
He is... I want to say, yes, no, I was right. Yeah, he's 60 home runs away from breaking the all-time Mets, Darryl Strawberry's record for the Mets.
Wow.
Which, as long as he stays healthy, he'll easily do that in 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're doing. You should be paying this guy.
If this team is not in a position to make the playoffs at the trade deadline, do you think they deal him?
They have to at that point. I mean, or pay him. Like I said, at this point, that's the confusing thing to me. It's at this point, you should know: are we in on this guy or are we out?
That's what it also is because Steve Cohen isn't very he hasn't really bought in or out on Pete Alonso. On Sunday, he even said we haven't had any discussion, and I think at this point for Pete, it's best for him to go out and have a great year and not be distracted. That's not a very well-telling sign of the future for this guy on this team.
Yeah,
because if you really wanted him for the future, you would have taken care of him.
Yeah. I mean, with free agency looming too, a lot of players will either play extremely well, because they know they got to perform for that
exactly,
contract.
That contractor, yep.
Or the pressure mounts up, and then I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Alonso. Look, we know one thing. We know the guy hits a lot of home runs, and he's a very reliable first baseman. But are you willing to pay a premium at first base? History doesn't really say that works out too well. And I mean, you're going to have a lot of options next season. They're going to be in on Soto. There's a lot of pitchers. The pitcher free agency class next season is amazing. Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Scherzer, Bieber, and Walker Buehler. And they got, infielders available too if you want to spend a lot of money in Goldschmidt and Gleyber Torres, Kim, Alex Bregman, and Willie Adames. So the Mets have options, but they should. It is concerning, I think, because Pete is a loved member of the Mets, and I feel like Mets fans absolutely would want to keep him. Would they not?
I would think so. They should.
Yeah.
He's by far the best bat in their lineup. By far the most power. I mean, shout out Alvarez. I'm excited. We can talk about him later. I'm excited to see how he develops. But other than those two, where's the power in this lineup? There's really not a lot at all. Kind of none. And I agree with what you say, Max. On one level, it hasn't always been a super great idea to pay first baseman like big money when they're 29 like he is. But I don't know, man. One, Steve Cohen is your owner. He's made it clear how much money he has to spend, and that's also kind of the problem. Is like Pete knows how much money you guys have to spend, and he's probably not going to let them, pay him less than what he thinks he is worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. Like the smallest amount of homers he's ever hit was when he was injured in 2020, or rather when the season got canceled, I think, and he hit 16. Other than that, and like full injuries without like pandemics, the lowest amount of homers he's ever hit is 37. Just like, where are you finding that? Even if you wait till next offseason to spend more money, where are you going to find is there a power hitter like him that's going to be available that you can get? No. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's also the devil you know and the devil you don't. And what I mean by that is, would you rather pay Alonso or take the risk of not paying him going somewhere else, and then maybe or maybe not getting someone like Juan Soto?
Yeah.
Whereas this way, if you just take care of Pete Alonso, you have him on your team next year, and whatever happens to the rest of the roster happens. I feel like there's also going to be some major shifts for this roster going into next season.
Yeah, no, I strongly agree with you, Sean. I think that it's there's no guarantee that I don't think how many power hitters, how many sluggers in baseball can we say for sure are better at power hitting than Pete Alonso? Not a ton.
Not yeah.
And how many of those guys are going to be available next offseason? Probably none, unless you're really lucky or you want to give up a king's ransom. It just makes sense to pay the guy now, and then you'll have him next season to build around this line. Because they say even if you do a swap for swap, I do think Juan Soto is a better player than Pete Alonso. But that for example, I don't know why I'm using him as the example, but to me, Juan Soto doesn't cure this lineup of its problems. This lineup needs power. These guys need sluggers, and losing Pete Alonso would, like I said, one of the I feel like now I'm getting a little bit repetitive. I'm sorry, guys, but like he's one of the best in the business. Like I said, his lowest amount in a healthy season with no global pandemic in terms of home runs was 37.
Right.
At the end of the day, they know what they have in him, and they know they can rely on him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or at least you'd think.
Yeah, because I know the history of first baseman, like you guys mentioned, but in this instance, particularly for the Mets, I think it's just best just to pay him, because you don't want to you don't want to get rid of him and then have even more questions than you do about your team.
Let's say we get like Cohen going crazy, and he tries to keep Alonso and get Soto. Do we see a world where that could happen?
Hey man, money talks. If he's willing to do it, then yes.
He has the bread to get it done, but
exactly. It's like Sean said, it's all about if he wants to or not.
Right.
But it's not impossible. It's going to be an interesting year for the Mets. It's going to be let's see where we are.
Yeah.
Here. But also I'm really excited to watch Francisco Alvarez this year. I think he in just like half a season, or maybe a little bit more than half a season, he hit I believe 27 home runs. 25, my apologies. But yeah, so on this guy is a great power hitter. I want to see how he develops. Only 22, and he's a really good defensive catcher. His framing is really great. Like we said, catcher can't do it all by himself, but it really helps pitchers when they have even if you're struggling as a pitcher, if you have a good defensive catcher who can, just make it real easy for you, it makes, everything better.
Plus, on top of that, guys in sports, like we talk about the contract year all the time. That's when guys like play out of their mind to get the most money on their next contract.
Mm-hmm.
But Pete Alonso really has nothing to prove here to the Mets.
Yeah, and to me, unless he gets, God forbid, knock on wood, you don't want to wish
Yeah.
for injury or anything or speak that into the air. But the money would only go up.
Exactly.
It can't go down.
Exactly.
Like it can only go up.
Even if he has a terrible season.
He'd have to have like a horrible injury or
yeah.
a catastrophically bad year.
Right.
Because we know what he's worth.
You know what you're getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything more on Yankees Mets? Are we ready to move on?
I think we're good unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on.
Oh no, I feel good.
All right. So, a lot of moves happened this past week in the NFL free agency. A lot of interesting signings, re-signings, franchise tags. I have a list. I think I'm just gonna go down a list of like ones that really stood out to me, and then you guys can like stop me and give your thoughts. Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, cool. Let's start with the AFC. So the Jets. Let's start with the Jets. The Jets signed offensive tackle Tyron Smith to a 1-year deal and traded for Morgan Moses. So they are really focusing on building up that O-line to protect Rodgers, which I think most people would agree is the most important thing for them to do right now, judging from the Rodgers injury and kind of how their O-line played last season.
Yeah.
And I think these are great acquisitions. Tyron Smith is easily, I think, one of the best offensive tackles in the league right now. When he is healthy, he has injury issues, so I would not rely on him, Jets fans, to be there for all regular season games. But he's just a beast, man. So I like the acquisitions.
Yeah, they might have come a year too late, but it's looking because that line was, I don't know, I was saying it from the beginning of the season. That line was not good, and I don't know, like I said going into last year, it's a very underrated part of Aaron Rodgers' game when people talk about how good he is his ability to stay light on his feet. And I like people are like, what do you mean his legs are important? When I say like his legs are important to his play style, that like everyone just always pictures like, Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson running out of the pocket. No, but your legs can be important for other things. It's really like the way he evades people. He always finds a way to stick around in that pocket to find his man. And coming off he was already slowing down. His last year in Green Bay was not good. And coming off a serious injury like this, his mobility is not going to be there. And he's also a lot achier and breakier now. You don't want him getting beat up.
Well, we're going to see how his body holds up and what they decide to do in the upcoming draft. The Ravens signed Derrick Henry. Oscar, how we feeling?
That's a great deal.
2 years, $16 million.
I think we kind of touched on it last
We did?
show, but no, I'll talk about it a little bit more. I really like that deal.
We did, yeah. But
will they actually run the ball in the AFC, against the Chiefs when it counts, though?
Yeah,
that is the question. It is a great run game, but you got to use it.
Yeah,
exactly. You got to use it when it matters. You can't have Lamar out there trying to throw it when that wasn't the recipe for success last season.
Yeah.
They re-signed Justin Madubuike. Is that how I say that? At 4-year, $98 million. The Bengals pick up Zach Moss on a 2-year, $8 million deal.
Solid.
I really like that. Wish the Cowboys did that. They franchise tagged T. Higgins, but I think he requested a trade. Am I wrong?
Yes,
Yes,
he did.
Okay, so that's an ugly situation. The Browns traded for Jerry Jeudy, re-signs Darius Smith, signed Jameis Winston. Shout out J-Mo. The Steelers traded for Justin Fields. That was a pretty talked about point this past week. And signed Patrick Queen to a 3-year, $41 million deal. That's a nice pickup for them. What do you think about Justin Fields?
What are the Bears doing?
The Bears?
Yeah.
Well, they're cleaning
They're
house.
getting,
It looks,
Caleb Williams.
I just keep Justin Fields.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Look, I get Caleb Williams is going to be nice and all. Justin Fields is he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, but has he shown that he can? I mean, they had a good roster around him last year. Not it wasn't the best O-line, but he had a number 1 wide receiver. He had a defense that would get stops. I mean, it's not like he was. It's not like his first season with Chicago.
Sean, would you say like keep Fields and either trade the first overall pick for more picks or like just select a really star player to build around Fields? Is that kind of what you're arguing?
Yeah. Build a star player and draft a star player and build around that with Fields, because now for him he's gonna go to the Steelers and be a backup to Russell Wilson.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
interesting.
for me, I'm not as mad at the Bears because simply, I don't know. It seemed like I think there's, I don't know whether he can reach all of his potential. It might be a little bit too late, but like, I still think Justin Fields can be a good quarterback in this league. I just think it wasn't going to happen in Chicago. I just think there was too much hurt, and like, you know, they were clearly interested in shopping him, and I don't think you can really come back from that in a very good way.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how it seems like the rest of the league is out on this guy, and I don't really understand why.
I mean, he shows you flashes, right?
Wait, but I don't know. But what the Vikings just signed Sam Darnold to a $10 million deal. Like, and I'm sorry, like we've seen flashes with Justin Fields, and Sam Darnold has always been crap. Like, he was never.
No.
good.
Justin Fields is much better than Sam Darnold ever was.
And that's, I don't know. I like, in just a world where like you see like some of these guys getting so much money, or like, you know, like the Buccaneers are giving like Baker $100-something million. It's just like the best Justin Fields can do is backup. I feel like that's a little bit harsh, you know.
No, that's because if they traded him to another team where he started, then okay. But the fact that he's not going to back up Russell Wilson, who he's much better than.
And not to mention
I mean, that's debatable.
We'll see.
Russell Wilson's good, but just I don't know.
I guess there's more upside with Fields.
I think Russell's better.
Yeah.
If you're trying to win now, like this team consistently makes the playoffs, I think Russell puts you in a better spot to win now than Justin Fields. But it's nice to have him there. You know, he could learn from Russ.
I agree.
That is the area that he struggles the most in the passing game. So we'll see. You know, it's interesting.
I wanna. Yeah, I kind of like this move from the Steelers though, because you kind of got two really cheap quarterbacks who have like pretty high upside. Like, you know, maybe Mike Tomlin gets something out of Russell Wilson. Maybe he wasn't that bad as he's shown in Denver. Maybe he's still got something left. And if not, then you can sit him on the bench. You're only paying him $2 million a year. I mean, I say only, but this is the NFL. They get paid quite a bit.
Right.
And then you can just bring Justin Fields in because he's still on rookie money.
Yeah. Yes.
So I like this move for the Steelers, though. I guess you could say maybe it might cause some like divide in the dressing room, but like I don't know. I think they've got. I think with the situation they're in, they're kind of setting themselves up.
I can see Justin Fields eventually getting that starting spot.
As
the season goes along.
For sure. And I think we all agree that moving on from Pickett was the right move.
That absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's
he
let's
should have
speed
never
run
been.
a few.
I can't believe they drafted him in the first round.
He was not good.
Him and his little hands.
The Texans traded for Joe Mixon, re-signed Dalton Schultz, signed Daniil Hunter to a 2-year, $34 million deal. I like all these moves.
Yes.
I think this team is going to be really good next season and the years to come.
Is exactly what they needed.
Yeah. The Colts re-signed Michael Pittman, 3 years, $70 million. Jaguars franchise tagged Josh Allen, signed Eric Armstead to a 3-year, $51 million deal. The Titans did some interesting signings. Signed Tony Pollard to a 3-year, $24 million deal. Running backs are really getting their money this offseason. And then Calvin Ridley, 4-year, $92 million deal. You got some thoughts on this one?
How is Calvin Ridley worth $23 million a year?
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite move of the
offseason. When I saw that, I was like, oh boy, because there were like reports before that like he was either going to stay on the Jaguars or go to the Patriots.
Right.
And I was like, if he goes to the Patriots, if they're in a rebuilding year, I could see that. Okay, fine. Why? What are the Titans doing?
I always thought he was going. I thought he was just using the Patriots as a way to get more money from the Jaguars.
Yeah, Jaguars. That's what I thought too. And now
I was totally wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know what this team is doing, man. Like,
plus they got rid of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, well, they've signed players too, which is the thing with the Titans. Like
Ridley hasn't been good in like 2-3 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's bad. I think he's a good player. But okay, yeah, with this deal, wait, hold on, I wrote this down. Yeah, with this new deal,
Mm-hmm.
he's got $15 million guaranteed, and that makes him, in terms of not total could be salary, but in guaranteed money, he's the second richest wide receiver in the league, behind only Tyreek Hill. And that is, I mean, hey, good for him.
No,
right,
He,
yeah,
no,
but
no,
like,
he got the bag. He got his money. Good for him.
But I don't understand what the Titans are
God.
doing. Because wait, who else have they signed? Because like, I just don't get it. Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, Mason Rudolph. Well, I thought they signed another wide receiver too. I kind of forget, but
Pollard, I'm perfectly cool with.
I mean, yeah,
that
I mean,
I
he
get.
didn't wow you last
Yeah.
year. But he's a reliable.
Yeah,
back
exactly.
for the
my
most
thing with
part.
that is though, like the Cowboys have a really good O line, and the Titans have a really bad O line.
That is the
Yeah.
thing. That is
You know
kind
what
of a
I mean?
Question mark. Yeah.
Well, it's not even necessarily Tony Pollard himself, and that's no disrespect to him necessarily, but it's just like, dude, that team's not good. Like, they're not going to win anything. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Why are you paying this much? It seems like they're just doing it to feel something. They're like, we just got to make signings. Just bring in guys.
Get
Like,
any
pretend.
kind of weapon.
Yeah, like pretend like we're doing something.
Just real quick on the Titans, and we'll move on. What do you guys think of Will Levis?
I think it's still really early on him.
Yeah.
I think by the end, or maybe by Thanksgiving of this next season, we'll kind of understand what he is.
I feel confident saying he's not very good.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm comfortable saying that.
I can't say that he's not very good now. I'm just not optimistic.
There's late bloomers, yes. You never know.
No, of course, yeah.
All right.
Shout
the
out
Chiefs,
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, exactly. The Chiefs signed Marquise Hollywood Brown on a 1-year, $11 million deal. Also re-signed Chris Jones and franchise tagged L'Jarius Sneed. I really like this signing for getting Brown. I mean, I think this guy's gonna have a monster year with Mahomes. He is like a true number one wide receiver in my mind, at least. The Raiders signed Gardner Minshew, Christian Wilkins, decent pickups there. Any more things on the AFC that you guys want to touch on?
I'm trying to think.
We talked about Mac Jones last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to the NFC then. The Giants made a nice move in trading for Brian Burns, edge rusher from the Panthers, signed a 5-year, $150 million deal with them. I really like this move. I don't know. I think that defensive line is going to be, it's young, it's fast, it's strong. I'm excited to see. To watch that defense, but not so much the offense for the Giants. The Eagles have been pretty busy. They re-signed Landon Dickerson. We talked about Saquon last week. Signed Devin White from the Bucks and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was an interesting acquisition because he kind of famously this past year was talking a lot of crap about Philly and their fans. So seeing him go back there was kind of funny. The Commanders had an interesting offseason, signed Austin Eckler and Bobby Wagner, two, players who are good, right?
Hey,
They're good.
I mean,
kind of on the back end of their career right now.
Austin
him in
Eckler,
the-
definitely.
put him in the dryer because
Yeah,
they're washed.
Okay.
Yeah. With Eckler, I mean, it wasn't working in LA with the Chargers. I mean, that whole Chargers team was just they had the potential to be good, which is terrible. All guys that are washed up with a really young quarterback in Justin Herbert. But for Eckler, I mean,
Rest in peace, our PPR god.
I know, right?
Right.
First round draft pick in fantasy.
All right, and then the Bears signed DeAndre Swift, traded for Keenan Allen, so they're kind of gearing up now. They got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, pretty much two number one wide receivers. So they're gearing up, giving Caleb everything he's going to need to succeed there. It's going to be interesting. They also re-signed Jalen Johnson. The Lions picked up DJ Reader, going to have a really amazing run defense next season. Packers signed Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, two really nice pickups for that team.
Yep.
Extremely young, just looking better and better by
Making
the
lots
year.
of good moves.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Vikings signed Aaron Jones. Beyond that, not really sure what's going on there.
Joshua Dobbs going to be the starting quarterback.
Maybe we'll see.
God.
Falcons signed Kirk Cousins on a 4-year, $180 million deal. I don't remember if we touched on this last episode, but just in case we didn't, what do you guys think about this trade for Kirk? Or not trade, but signing.
I don't know. For me, hey, he's the ultimate bag getter, bro.
Mhm.
Like really, just yeah. I don't know. I just feel like that's a lot of money for a guy who you know his ceiling. Like his ceiling is so very obvious.
I just have to Google what his agent is or who his agent is.
But for guys like B. John Robinson, this would be good.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will kind of open it up for B. John a little bit more on the offense because they weren't doing it that much with the Desmond Ridder last season.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a team that has a lot of really fun and interesting pieces on it, and they're all young too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what Kirk does. I don't think he's gonna take the team extremely far. He hasn't been known to do that.
I think they're making the playoffs though. I think they're definitely the best team in that division. Comfortably.
Yeah, for sure. The Buccaneers kept a lot of their main guys. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans re-signed there. Levante David, Antoine Winfield Jr.
I'm surprised Mike Evans re-signed.
I'm not.
No?
I think he probably wants to retire a Buck.
I thought it was a move on, but
I mean, the guy is just the definition of consistency.
oh yeah.
And
He's
then
reliable.
yeah, and then 49ers picked up Leonard Floyd. But besides that, I think it's been a little bit more quiet in the NFC.
Yeah, AFC was more like where the big moves happen.
Yeah, a lot of aggressive. Because the thing of the AFC, the quarterbacks are all so young, or either just they don't know who the quarterback is.
Yeah.
So you might as well just start stocking up on as much, ammunition as you can get.
I kind of respect it. It's just like, let's just sign guys. No plan, really. Let's just sign guys for some of these teams.
Mm-hmm. Any major points players that I forgot to mention you guys want to talk about a little bit more?
Did we talk about Saquon that much last?
I don't remember. I mean,
week?
we can talk about it a little bit now. What do you guys think of the signing?
It's a fine deal.
I know Giants really hate it.
Yeah.
Giants fans are having a tough time with this one.
I really like it for the Eagles, though. I think it gives Jalen Hurts a legit one of the top RBs, I should say, in Saquon Barkley, already is a top wide receiver in A.J. Brown. So that optionality for him on the offense is going to be really interesting to see how they use it.
It's a 3-year, $37.5 million contract. That's a lot of money for a running back of his age. But I mean, it's going to be an outstanding run game.
Yeah.
You're just adding another great weapon. A lot of people I think Giants fans are pretty upset because he's going to an in-division rival.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? I mean, it's not really up to. I don't think Saquon owes, the Giants really anything or their fans anything. He's
they didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, no, I agree with John. That's just my philosophy in general. Like, tribalism is fun. It's fun to have rivalries and stuff. But first and foremost, dude, they can say everything they want. This is heartbreak. I don't know. Like, that sucks that we got to teach this to grown people sometimes. But it's like, the players don't love the team as much as you do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it though. It sucks, especially if Saquon's your favorite player.
Yeah.
It sucks seeing him go to a rival team. I'm sure they would have preferred pretty much any other team besides the Eagles or the Cowboys.
Literally anyone besides the Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah,
but then you have guys like Tiki Barber who are going out there and saying
You're dead to me. Something like that.
Like, we don't need Johnny Mayer. That's like, dude. Like
they wanted him.
He did nothing wrong.
They gave him a great deal.
He played on that crappy offense
Mm-hmm.
last season. He tried to make that work. He did get hurt last season, granted, but still, like, it was time for him to move on. Like, he's going to stay on the Giants for a crazy long period of time